Today, on Be Something Wonderful, I manifested my dream job after rejection after rejection. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Here we are in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, in the Be Something Wonderful studio now for the next 3 or 4 days. Behind us is a Zambezi National Park. That's going to be our backdrop for a lot of powerful content for the next few days. I want to talk about a client that I had a early morning session with, and when we had our first session, our only session, right? She's a subscriber plus a client. She was in the midst of 2 rejections for what she considers her dream job, right? This job requires, right? This is her words, business experience, big event planning experience. You get to travel a lot. I mean, for her, it's a dream, right? She'd be working for a high-profile celebrity executive, right? And it has all the everything that she wants, but she just didn't believe she was qualified, right? And this is what she sort of was carrying with her. And 2 rejections, right? And she even got into this discussion that, well, you know, maybe it's not my destiny. Maybe my higher self doesn't want me to have this job for some reason, or it's not right for me. And guys, we hit all of that today. I'm going to talk about all of these ideas and more. And the only thing I asked her is, what do you want? What's your assumption? Who do you assume you are? Who are you? Who do you say I am, as Jesus says? Because that's going to determine it. There's nothing predestined. It's not your higher self saying, no, you can't have that. There's something else that you're destined for. But your destiny, your fate, is what you determine it to be. Your lifeline, your experience of your horizontal experience of reality is what you say it is. What you assume it is, what you believe it is. You get to determine it all. You get to determine it all. It's all you. So so the only question is, what do you want? What's your assumption about that, right? So I want to hit a few of the points, because after 2 more rejections, she got 4 rejections in all, and she connected. And here's how she connected. She connected with someone. She had experience, right, as a server in a really nice, high-profile restaurant, but she didn't even have that as part of her experience on her CV. She didn't think it was relevant, right, especially for this. But how did she connect? Well, in a conversation, right? After 4 rejections, in a conversation with this person that was interviewing her, this business person, this person had a pretty major role in a company, had experience at the same restaurant as a server when she was younger. That's how they connected, and that's how she landed the job, her dream job, right? Where all of a sudden, all those things that she thought were obstacles dissolved. All those things where she thought that experience was necessary dissolved. Well, this is exciting. I want to talk about this. She goes, I was focused on my doubts, my insecurities, my lack of experience and qualifications, trying to fill that, trying to spin it, trying to fix what I thought was broken, right? Trying to fix herself, trying not to highlight certain things, but highlight other things, right? And trying to cover up who she really is, because remember, it's who you really are that shines, that comes out, that light. It's not remember, it's your assumptions. That creates reality, not the qualifications, not the education. It's what you assume you are, who you assume you are. It's your assumptions about what you want that determine it, right? Then I just said, and she used a pretty strong word here. She said, the heck with it, and she goes, I took my power back. She took her power back. She stood in the assumption, this is my dream job. I determine my destiny. I determine my fate. She moved into that after 4 rejections. In other words, she stopped seeking fulfillment in conditions, right? Looking out there and saying, I got to meet these certain conditions. I've got to be a certain way to get what I want. She stopped trying to find what she believed she lacked or lost. In other words, we had this discussion in our earlier sessions that sometimes she felt that she was in wish fulfilled at one moment and then knocked out of wish fulfilled at another moment. I know a lot of you have been talking about that. I'm in fulfillment, not. You can never, here's the thing, you don't lose fulfillment. You don't lose that state of who you are. And she understood you can't lose who you really are, right? Your true state of fulfillment. That true love, that you can't lose who you are. You can only lose the awareness of it. And even then, you haven't really lost it. You're not putting your attention on it, right? You only can lose your awareness of it by not believing and identifying, or by believing and identifying with unreal conditions. She was believing and identifying with those thoughts that she wasn't good enough, that she didn't have the experience, that she wasn't right for the job. Those were her assumptions. Those were her, and not invisible, they were pretty prominent. She dropped all of that and said, what the heck? I'm going for it. I'm going to be that person. So I want to put the lesson around this today, guys. So when thoughts of doubt, fear, disbelief pop up, because this is one of the things she asked about. Now she allows those thoughts to be. She knows that they don't create reality. Hear this. Despite of all those thoughts of fear and doubt and disbelief that were popping up, she said, the heck with it. I'm going to leave them there. I'm going to leave that 3D linear me there. And I'm going to move to the assumption that I am that. It's done. I'm in Barbados. I've got the job. So leave them. Don't give them a second thought. Because it was only her second thought about those thoughts. Thinking, oh, there's something wrong. I'm not in fulfillment. I've got to fix my thoughts. I've got to feel better to get this job. I've got to feel, trying to fix all these temporary conditions. It's the second thought and feeling of non-fulfillment that binds you to unwanted realities and aversion yourself. That's what bound her to 4 rejections, right? It was the second thought and the feeling about that thought. That maybe I won't get the job, right? If I'm feeling this way or thinking this way, if I have doubt, if I have fear, then I'm not going to get what I want. That's what it is. It's a second thought about it that binds you to unwanted realities and aversion yourself. A thought is harmless unless you believe it. Byron Katie. A thought is harmless, and so she had the thought, and she even felt it. But they're still harmless unless you believe them. Unless you have a second thought about it and said, oh no, I'm thinking this, I'm feeling this, this means I'm not going to get what I want. That's what binds you. Byron Katie, a thought's harmless unless we believe it. And Jesus said it, you could have no authority at all against me unless it had been given from above. There's no inner authority. Once you don't give it a second thought, inner authority, identify with it, believe that's who you are, believe you've got to fix it, believe that if you have that thought and feeling, that some source or some power outside of you is going to withhold what you want because you're thinking or feeling that way. Just leave it. Leave it like she did. So it's your belief in them, those thoughts, those unwanted thoughts, that gives them reality. It's your identification with them as I am that gives them power and authority, right? You react and respond believing you have to control those thoughts or feel better thoughts, or you would manifest what you want, or you won't. You have to control those thoughts to manifest what you want. And if you don't, you won't manifest what you want. Right? Unless you control them, unless you feel better. But that's the very thing that's making them real and solid. That's what's creating the reality. That's what's collapsing the waveform. That's what's making that reality solid. Right? You believing in those thoughts. You feel knocked out of your state of wish fulfilled in love, empowering those thoughts. Right? When you empower those thoughts, you do feel knocked out of your state of wish fulfilled. So you seek fulfillment in love. Right? Efforting to return to that state of wish fulfilled. So that you go seeking it outside yourself, right? By looking at trying to correct conditions and correct thoughts. By trying to fix yourself to think and feel better thoughts or outer conditions. Maybe I got to get more requirements. Maybe I got to improve my education, get more experience. You're creating and perpetuating non-fulfillment. You're just creating that non-reality as you seek to fix all that. So let's hit this a little bit more. What do you do instead? Instead, leave the 3D linear horizontal you, the linear 3D horizontal conditions, the linear 3D horizontal reality, with its thoughts of doubt, fear, and unwanted to sulk in its own disbelief. Just let that 3D you sulk in its disbelief. Leave it. Well, you move back to the assumption awareness, I am that. The heck with this, as she said. She had another word, but remember, we're kid-friendly here. The heck with this. It's done. I am fulfillment, period. I am fulfillment, period. What do I do when I lose the feeling or conviction of wish fulfilled? That was her question, right? What do I do? Nothing. Nothing. Do nothing with that. Move back to, stop seeking fulfillment. You already are fulfillment. You can't lose the state. It's natural to you. You can only lose your awareness of it, right? So that creates a reality of seeking what's not and never lost. When you ask that question, when you believe you have to find that, you state of the state of absolute fulfillment of love as I am. That's your state. Your state. That should be a your state of absolute love and fulfillment as I am. But you can only lose the awareness of it, not the state. Byron Katie says that. Powerful. You can only lose the awareness of it, not the state. She was talking about love, but we're talking about the same thing, fulfillment, love. You can only lose the awareness of it, but not the state, because you are that, right? When people said, well, you know, I've got to find myself, what we're really talking about is just increasing your awareness of who you really are. You're not lost. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You just need to stand in the assumption that you are that already. Right? So, and then again, this question came up. Maybe it's my higher self trying to tell me something. Well, it is your higher self trying to tell you something, but it's not to tell you that you can't have what you want, and it's not to tell you that that's your destiny, or that's not your destiny. It's not that. Your higher self's not telling you that. Rather, it's your higher self saying, if you really want it, persist in the assumption and conviction that it's already yours, that I am that. That's what your higher self is telling you. It's not anything else. It's not telling you you can't have what you want. It's not telling you that that's a wrong desire, like we talked about in yesterday's video. That's an ego desire. That's an ego obsession. You can't have that. It's none of that. It's you deciding to stand in that assumption, right? It's your assumption and conviction that determines whether your desires were predestined. Neville Goddard talks about desires were predestined, right? He talks about himself, that his assumptions determine that his desires are predestined. Your assumption and conviction determines your destiny and what's predestined, right? Because as you stand in that assumption that that job's yours, then it is, and that's what happened after 4 rejections, right? They connected on a job that she worked as a server, and that the person interviewing her worked as a server. Live in your assumption and conviction that it's done. When you do, temporary conditions and appearances become irrelevant. They're irrelevant. They dissolve. They have nothing to do with it. I manifested my dream job after rejection after rejection. I am your host, Tom Kearin, with the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Here we are, guys, broadcasting from Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. More coming. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. Thank you for joining our Facebook group at the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. Thank you for joining us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, and our membership channel, which is growing, and there's more content coming on that as well as another live stream. There's a link below where you can join the membership channel if you haven't. And just for all that information and more, just go to our website at tomkearin.com or besomethingwonderful.com. Creators, with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Tom Kearin with Be Something Wonderful. We'll see you soon.